take note that we are not done yet placing all the data inside our block section. We need to include also the student list on block section. So how do we understand the block section student list? If we check our object diagram, so object diagram is a simulation of what would be the output or what would be the content of the objects in case it is run or executed. Here on block section DA, we have this content. The student list is a bundle of student object. So you would say that student list is a bunch of students. So we may declare student list as an array list that contains student objects where each student contains a separate attribute and methods, student number, name, program. We need to place all the data inside a student object, and then later on we bundled it and store it on student list. So how do we do that? If you will check our sequence diagram, here there is an indication that we need to create another object, which is the student DA. So the purpose of this one is to create an object that will read the input file of student. So as we continue on block section DA, okay, so our next is to declare a student DA object. So there is an error on student DA because it is not part of the program yet, and there's no student DA created yet. So you need to hover on student DA. So we need to create class student DA. So this would be put inside the package text services. That is correct. So we click finish. Again, we declare a constructor here. So by definition, constructor holds the default value and execute the initial task of the object. Just like what we did on block section DA, it needs to read the student info file. And select the path of the file, Control C, close this one, Control V to paste the path of the file. So there is an error because scanner is not yet part. Hover the mouse, import scanner, hover the file reader, import file reader, hover on file reader to throw the declaration of file not found exception. Our next challenge is to read 3 lines of rows of student info. So this is way different to block section info because here we only read 1 line. And how do we read continuously the student info file until the end? So instead of just reading 1 line, we need to read student info until it reaches its last line. How do we do that? We use a while loop and check if it has a next line to read. As we go back on our object diagram, we need to read 3 lines of code for student and bundled it on student list. So we need to prepare an array list that will hold the 3 rows. We will declare a instance variable of student list. There is an error on array list because it's not yet included on our program. We import Java array list, Java util array list, and of course include also the student object from the domain package. So before we read the file in the student info, we need to instantiate the student list. The same logic that we have done on block section, we need to put the entire row on a variable row student and later on split it into an array variable row student specific with the size of 4. Now we split the information stored on row student and store it on array row student specific. Since everything is already in place, we need to create now our student object. Store the data on the student object. The question is, why did we start on 1 instead of 0? If you check our row student specific, we don't need the 2bsit3 on our student object. Our student object only needs student number, name, program, and a course list. For now, we just store only the 3 attributes and let us check if it is successfully done adding it on our block section. Since we need to read 3 student objects, so the first student that we have read should be stored on student list. Since this is a for loop, it will loop back and read the second student info row, which is Mary, and repeat the whole process as we add the next student on the student list. So this loop will just stop when it has no longer seen any lines to be read. Assuming that we have completed the student list, we need to attach it on our block section object. If you would recall, our block section object consists of a student list. So our block section object is not yet complete since it has no student list yet. So here we attach the student list? How do we attach the student list? So we call student DA get student list. Why do we need to get the student list? Because we need to attach it on block section object. Here we delete the student list and attach the student list from student TA. There is an error on student TA get student list. If you go back to student DA, we don't have a method get student list. So here, after the block of our constructor, so this is the block of our constructor, underneath we insert the method get student list. Since our student list is an array list, so we say get student list and we simply return whatever the value of our student is. If you go back, there is no longer an error on attaching the student list. Our next challenge is to display this piece of information. How do we do that? So this piece of information comes from a student object. We say we update our student object and create its own toString method. We check the labels and its corresponding information. And we return the result. So we include this on our block section object. But the thing is, we don't have one student to print. Take note, we need to print 3 students because on our file we have 3 students. So this output must be repeated 3 times. How do we do that? Our block section object consists of a student list. So this is already complete. So we need to process each student and print this output 3 times. So we store it on a for loop. So we say for every student, which is we get it from student list, we print the student. After printing the student, we add this portion. So we need to transfer this block, Control X, Control V, to complete our requirement. Let us go back on our COM report, save everything, and run the program. So it seems we haven't read the student number, the student name, and the program. So how do we correct this one? If you check our student object, so you would see that we have not included the information for the student. And or on block section, so to separate the block, we put \n. Let's go back on our COM report, save everything, then run. Okay, it seems it's not yet done. Okay, we put two new lines here. Go back again, COM report, save everything, then run. Let's check our output. So there you have it. We have read the three students.